What's up? What's up? Hey, welcome to tonight's movie chat. So, 4K UHD, my collection, um, moving from Instagram. So tonight's movies, not gonna go too deep in. We're just gonna hit a few. I teased it over on Instagram, but first off, I was over at Universal Studios today with my boy John Tui, and we got to go through it, and it made me feel like, man, I've been saving this for a minute, and it's time to talk about it. Jordan Peele's spectacular little horror film with the great Daniel Kaluuya and Kiki Palmer and Stephen Yen and friggin' Terry Notary as Gordy. Nope. Keith David, uh, Michael Wincott, shot by Hoyt van Hoytsma in IMAX. We saw this picture. Did this come out 2 years ago? A year ago? I don't even remember now. But this movie lives rent free in my head all day, every day. It's an interesting thing when you live in Southern California and you see something shot here that utilizes the natural world the way Nope does. When you leave the theater, if you saw this movie during the day and you see the sky and the clouds, Jordan managed to make the sky above Southern California terrifying. And it was a remarkable feat. And he made like multicam sitcoms terrifying. Like that has a lot to do with Terry Notary's performance as Gordy. I was working out with Terry doing quadrifit during the pandemic, so they shot Nope during the pandemic. So what we would do is we have these arm extensions, and we would work out down on the beach and go down to down to like Malibu and stuff, and we'd be masked up and wearing these arm extensions and be doing push-ups and dips and stuff like that. And Terry is one of the most, hey, what's up, Du Bois? Um, Terry's one of the most incredible physical, kinetic performers I've ever worked with. Terry is he played Rocket in the Planet of the Apes movies. He's in The Square. He played Baby Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy, and he played Gordy in Nope. And Sherry and our daughter went to go see Nope before I got the opportunity to go see it. And I don't remember if you saw it in IMAX or you guys didn't. She's like, I did not see it in IMAX. Right? And they got home, and Sherry was like, Terry Notary. And I don't know if I can look him in the face. And she's studied with him too. Like, he's the sweetest man. I've had him on my podcast. Like, I've studied with Terry a lot. In fact, he's teaching a workshop this coming weekend about movement and about using arm extensions. Like, he's just one of those, just like he's a Cirque du Soleil performer. He's just super generous. And man, his performance as Gordy is just magnificent and terrifying. So, like, I just knew I had to take my medicine, and I went to go see a late night show at IMAX at AMC on down at what is it, at Universal City. And I'll tell you, man, I was so terrified. But the Gordy's home stuff didn't affect me the way it affected Sherry and the kid. Like, I thought that stuff was like super spooky, but it just didn't get under my skin. What scared me was the kind of all the dark, like the corral stuff, um the nature of Jean Jacket. And what I really loved about, and this is so if you haven't seen Nope, I want to talk about Nope for a moment, about thematically what the film is about, what I think the film is about, because he talks about bad miracles. And I really love that concept. It's a very different concept than I've ever seen addressed in a film, of like miraculous things happening and them happening in a negative way that throw you off balance and hurt you. And that's kind of what this is about. And that's what Jean Jacket is. Du Bois, I don't know how old you are. Nope is scary. I mean, we were talking. A friend of mine is a filmmaker, kind of a horror movie buff, and he's like, "Bro, what's your favorite horror movie? What's the scariest horror movie you've ever seen?" And I cop to have never seen like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and some of these other things. Like for me, The Shining is up there. And I was asking Sherry because she's seen some pretty hardcore stuff, and she thought about it for a moment, and she's like, "Oh, Blaine, that's a good question. Scary level 1 to 10. It's so subjective. It's hard to say. Like if you like psychological horror, I would say psychologically, Nope is like one of those movies that would put on par with Jaws. It's way more suspenseful than it is horror. Would you agree with that?
No, it's a monster movie.
It is a monster movie the way Jaws is. But like the third act is
Hunting the monster.
is hunting the monster, hunting the shark, just like in Jaws. Like that was what was surprising to me about Jaws when I first saw it. Was like Jaws is like a terror movie in the first act. Like there is a monster eating people in the water. Stay out of the freaking water, and people don't get the message. And then the second act is that we think we got it, but we don't, and it keeps getting worse until they finally get on the boat and go after it. And then, baby, you got it. And then, it's you're 13. So like, Nope isn't gory. It's not. It's a little gory. It's blood. It's just.
You're forgetting all the stuff about with Terry.
Yeah, the Gordy stuff is pretty gory.
Gory, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Your mileage may vary. It depends on what kind of gore you're into or what you can handle. I don't want to. I mean, it is rated R, so like take that into consideration. But like what I think is great about that film is it does some really interesting things. If you're not about the blood, then just skip Nope. Skip Nope until you can handle it.
When there's raining blood from the sky.
Yeah, there's raining blood from the sky. You've seen Gladiator. I mean, Gladiator's more of an action picture than it is a horror film. And like I said, Sherry thought Nope is the scariest movie she's ever seen. This is someone who has seen Texas Chainsaw, someone who's seen The Exorcist and Exorcist 3, someone who has seen, The Omen, fair enough. Give Nope a Nope and pass. That's fine. I mean, if you like Jordan Peele stuff and you like Get Out, you like Us, I think Nope is something you'll definitely get into. But like what I like about Nope personally is that it's very much a movie about filmmaking, and it's a movie about the about creatures and about it's about thinking you can control things that you can't.
It's about fame too.
And it's about fame. And fame is a monster. Everyone kind of wants it, and you get a sense of this ability to control it, and things that you think you can control that you can't.
And fame is a monster that you can't control, just as in the movie Gordy is an animal that you can't
Yeah,
control, and there's an animal in the sky that you
yeah.
can't control. Fame is an animal you can't control.
Fame is a monster and an animal that you cannot control. And it's an illusion. It's something that you think you can control and you can't. And people have this illusion of control over things like wild animals. And that's what happens with Gordy and with Terry Notary's character with this chimpanzee who's on like a sitcom. And then what happens with Jean Jacket, who's this uh, alien being that is it looks like this flying saucer until you realize it's organic. It's really thoughtful, challenging, and it's what I love about Jordan Peele's films. He really his movies are more than just a scare. They're there, but they're really thought provoking, and it makes him one of the more exciting filmmakers of today. So, I give a yup to Nope, but that's me, and that's why it's in my collection. I love it. Moving on to another great horror master, and I think also someone who is right in line with Jordan Peele's sensibilities is the great Alfred Hitchcock, and one of my favorite pictures of his. And you can hang with this if you're not a Nope fan. This is North by Northwest. This is a classic action thriller comedy almost, and it stars Cary Grant. And man, now some of you guys are young. I see some 13-year-olds on here. And let me tell you something. Cary Grant was one of the most debonair, coolest, relaxed, funny, smart actors we've had. And a movie like North by Northwest really showcases that. What I love about Alfred Hitchcock and this movie in particular, it ties into something that we don't see that often in a lot of modern film and a lot of modern horror. Hey, what's up, Marie? What we don't see a lot is like there's a lot of comedy here and a lot of peril. And it's like trouble that these characters all get into. So the broad strokes here of this movie is Cary Grant is a sort of kind of a smartass advertising executive in New York who is mistaken by some thugs as someone else and is kidnapped by them, and it's a mistaken identity adventure. And the bad guy is played by this actor named James Mason. And man, this movie goes from 0 to 100 so fast, and it is a blast. And it ends up taking place. It goes like on trains and cornfields and planes and cars and action. And Alfred Hitchcock does such a beautiful job of ratcheting up the tension and the comedy and the thrills, and it looks stunning. It's one of my favorite Hitchcocks. And of course, Alfred Hitchcock had done Psycho, he did The Birds, he did Torn Curtain, he did Marnie, he did The Man Who Knew Too Much, he did Rear Window. There's so many wonderful horror films that he did, but North by Northwest is something different. It's more of a comedy and more of an action thriller. I would say it's almost like a comedy version of The Fugitive. And if you haven't seen it, I recommend it highly. Definitely check out North by Northwest. I remember my parents talking about it when I was a little kid, of like, you know, my dad like loved like the Twilight Zone, and he would talk about that all the time. And then whenever, because yeah, I grew up at a time where, you know, there would be like 6 movies in the movie theater, and they would stay in the theater for a long time. And there was no cable, so we just had what movies would run on television. The Tom Cruise of horror. I wonder who would be the Tom Cruise of horror. Who would be the Tom Cruise of horror? I'm trying to think. Yeah, I guess I would say Hitchcock was less the Tom Cruise of horror and more. He would be more the Steven Spielberg of horror if you would set it 20 years before Steven Spielberg. I think that would be a better comparison. Because Hitchcock would do like, and the fun thing to do is like go on YouTube and do a search for Alfred Hitchcock movie trailers, and you'll see some pretty scary trailers like Psycho and stuff. But what he would do in his trailers are hilarious. I mean, he would like his trailer for The Birds is just you just see this portly English gentleman talking about the movies that he's making, and he kind of inserts himself in it. Like his trailer for Psycho is ridiculous. He's like, "Oh, let me tell you, I'm going to take you on a tour of what happened. This is the hotel, and it's a very grisly scene, and this is what happened. Well, we shouldn't look in there. Let's go over here." And I mean, it's just this really crazy kind of a movie trailer, very, very different from what we've seen before. But, I mean, when I was growing up, my mom and dad, they, I was raised in the Christian church, and like we really weren't supposed to go see movies. But by the time my parents had us, they were kind of like, well, we still go see movies anyway, and the movies would come on television on like Saturday night and Sunday afternoon. So North by Northwest was one of those movies that would show up. It's a mad, 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 mad world. The Russians are coming. The Russians are coming. Different comedies like that they saw like at the drive-in or whatever. So whenever that was on, I would love watching movies with my parents because it was like, oh, this is great. And North by Northwest was one of those pictures, so that's why I recommend it. Okay, next movie. This is by a filmmaker named Robert Eggers. The next two pictures are. Robert Eggers is one of the most detail-oriented period filmmakers. And what that means is he makes movies that are set in very specific time periods. And he does really detailed, researched, fascinating work. This film stars Alexander Skarsgård and Nicole Kidman and Ethan Hawke and, gosh, Anna Taylor-Joy. It's The Northman. It is bloody. It is brutal. If you are not a blood person or an action person, skip The Northman. But if you are, it is Shakespearean. It is Hamlet. It is dramatic and action packed. And it is so well done. And the supplementals on here, this was a blind buy for me. I bought the Blu-ray because I never saw the film in the theater. The trailer captured my imagination. The music is all so well researched. He wanted the music and the sound to be as authentic as possible to the experience of the. I'm checking it. What do you do if you're the action guy, but not the gore? Great question. I'll come back to that and make a few recommendations for you. The Northman is a gory movie, so I don't recommend that. I would avoid kind of some of Robert Eggers' movies because a lot of his stuff is super gory. But that is also tied to the period stuff because it's all blades, right? So like, but what I love about the Northman, and in particular because my people are Nordic. I'm American. I'm like third generation American, but I really don't have much connection to the Netherlands. Most of my people are, from the Netherlands. So I mean, my grandfather, the most recent immigrant from the Netherlands, came over. My grandfather came over from the Netherlands in the 30s, in the 20s or 30s. So I come from West Michigan, where there was a lot of Dutch people. And the Dutch were, kind of descended from the Huns from the Viking people and the people in that area. And there was, I mean, there's a lot of cross pollination up there. So it was a lot of, Viking people and the Goth people, which are like the Germans, and there's a little bit of, I guess, from 23andMe, we found out there's a little bit of like Mongol, like Attila the Hun, like a little bit of that. So very much that. Yeah, I'm American too, but I'm not Native American. My people came from someplace before we got here, so it was like we always kind of identified by the fact that we were American, but we were Dutch too. So it was like all of that. So the Northman is, oh, interesting. That's super cool. Super cool. So like what was interesting to me about the Northman is that it was just an interesting reflection of what things were like 1,000 years ago. And but they're also telling stories from, man, like Hamlet, but done in that way. It's just super cool. So the Northman. So let me come back to this question that Blaine asked about what do you do if you're an action guy but not the gore? So I would focus on movies that are, PG action pictures or PG-13. And there's always going to be a little bit of gore in an action movie. You're going to see a little bit of blood, but not necessarily gore. So, like super bloody movies. Like we just watched Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones in The Fugitive recently. And there's a little bit of blood in there. There's some punching and there's a little bit of stabbing here and there, and there's some blood and stuff. But you can kind of tell when it's coming up. What I do when I'm watching our television screen and I can kind of feel like there's going to be some blood. Yeah, yeah, good call. Top Gun, Mission Impossible. That's pretty good. I just kind of bring my eyes just underneath the bottom of the screen. That helps a lot. But I also think, like, check out the Tom Clancy movies, like Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games. Patriot Games is PG-13. Clear and Present Danger. Those are pretty, very intriguing. They're like kind of military. If you like Mission Impossible, I think you might enjoy those films. Um, yeah, Top Gun, Maverick are so good. Um, I love The Fugitive. Men in Black is super fun. I'm trying to think of some other films, other great action pictures. Oh man, you can't go wrong with science fiction too. Like some good sci-fi, like the Star Trek films, both the original Star Trek and then the recent ones that have come out recently. Like J.J. Abrams' Star Trek, Star Trek Beyond, Star Trek Into Darkness. Check out, oh boy, yeah, those are really really good. Galaxy Quest. It's funny, but it also has a lot of action. Those are super fun. Let me see if there's any other ones that I've recently recommended that would jump out. Mystery Men is really funny and good. Great action. Yeah, Men in Black. You could also do some older westerns. You'd be surprised how fun they are. Like Fistful of Dollars and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Those movies are terrific. Really, really terrific. And they're not necessarily straight up, and they're not bloody. They're really great. And man, if you haven't seen the original Karate Kid, check it out. All right. Speaking of bloody, this is my last movie for tonight because I got to go to bed. It's already after midnight here in LA. This is a bloody film. I feel like this movie is a little, for me, it was a little overrated. I was very excited when it came out. Take care, Dad's boy. This is, I appreciate the subscription. This is Nosferatu by the same director as The Northman. And Nosferatu is a very bloody film. It's the movie that the movie Dracula is based on, so it's about a vampire. I like some of the movies in the 30s, Outlaws. Yeah, Public Enemies and John Dillinger, Highwaymen for Bob. Yeah, great references. Check out The Roaring Twenties with Humphrey Bogart. Check out White Heat. Oh, check out Angels with Dirty Faces. Some of the James Cagney movies. James Cagney movies from back in the day. Not only are they not bloody because the Hays Code and the postal code and stuff like that from back in the day, but they're also like, man, they're so good. I mean, the acting is a little dated from the period, but man, the performances are so good. They're terrific. Nosferatu is beautiful, well researched. There's some tremendous performances. I think Lily Rose Depp is very good in this. Bill Skarsgård plays Nosferatu, the vampire. Willem Dafoe is the Van Helsing character. Nicholas Holt. There's a lot of things to like about this film, but ultimately it's just a little tropey, meaning it just felt like there was an opportunity to do something more with this film, and I felt like it just didn't deliver. There's something about this film that left me feeling kind of cold. And it surprised me because Robert Eggers' films, The Witch, The Lighthouse, and in particular The Northman, I was so excited for Nosferatu just because his batting average has been so high. And again, the production design, magnificent. The character performances, magnificent. We watched it in the back on the projector, and we were all buckled in for a great night of entertainment. And again, we were swept away by the world, but just something about the movie just didn't quite connect. It felt a little misogynistic, and that felt out of character for Robert Eggers. And yeah, Nosferatu was kind of a disappointment, and now I hold on to it because it's a bit of a shaggy dog. That there's a lot to like, but not enough to like for me to fully recommend it. So there you go. Those are my 4 picks for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me tonight in this live chat. Appreciate you coming in. I'm going to save this here in my playlist for movies on 4K. And thanks for dropping by. Peace. Have a good night.